The last two episodes of Smashtalk, which we recorded in one go, are both very long. The day after recording them, another Nintendo Direct was announced for the following week. So I decided I would wait until that Direct to release any of the Smash Talks, just so we could adjust for anything that got revealed at the Direct. The Direct was then delayed. After waiting a few days without any updates about when the Direct would be happening, I decided I would go ahead and upload these before the Direct instead, because it seemed like I would have time. The plan was to upload this on Thursday, and the next Direct on Monday. It turns out that the Direct is now happening tomorrow, on Thursday, the day I was planning to upload this. So I'm uploading it now. And I'm just done. What's up, guys? It is Chris back here again with Pizza Dude Man Guy and my cat right here on the bed, either sleeping or pouting. Her eyes are open. She's glaring at me.
Meow.
She's not happy about me.
Meow.
Not paying attention to her right now. We are back with possibly our last session of recording Smash Talks. At the very least, we think we're gonna cover the last of the roster today, for sure.
Yeah.
Because we talked about it, and we think that with the way that things are, where we're at with what we know about the game, we kind of think that there's not much left to do. And the main thing is with this last Direct, we got what seemed like a final stage count. And then in interviews, it seemed like Sakurai kind of doubled down and kind of confirmed on that being like the final stage count, with all stages revealed. And so for a lot of people, including me, and I think also Isaac, I do think that means that if there's a franchise that isn't on the stage list that we can see right now, that probably means that they aren't coming in the base roster.
I actually don't agree with that.
You don't agree with that?
No.
Okay. Curious to see. Either way, I at least think that it's extremely likely that we won't see any new franchises. So because of that, what we're going to be doing is two videos, I should say, in this session. One of them going over franchises that are already represented, that already have stages, characters that necessarily wouldn't have to have a new stage come with them if they were added. And that'll cover Echo characters, most specifically, and just talking about a lot of the smaller franchises that we haven't gotten confirmed new reps for, and that we haven't talked about in Smash Talk yet. And then we'll do another video next about unrepresented franchises. We'll cover a lot of the third parties, miscellaneous franchises that people have wanted to see added for a while, indies, a lot of stuff like that, just stuff that we haven't seen yet. And I think we're just going to start off with represented. And before we jump into it, again, as I say at the beginning of all of these, if you want to talk about these more in depth, our Discards are open. Mine is in the description box below, and I believe you can just ask for pizzas.
Yeah. Mine's not as active as Chris's, but it exists.
It does exist, and it's a bit more focused, I would say. Mine devolves into a lot of shit posting sometimes.
Well, sure, but mine has less people, so I mean that's bound to happen.
Depends on what kind of experience you're looking for.
We've on Smash Talk so far, I mean, we've been focusing on one franchise per video, but I think at this point we've hit all the really big franchises. What I have done here is I've made like a bit of a list of all the franchises in Smash we haven't talked about, and it's just because there's not much to talk about with them. They either have already seen quite a bit of new representation, or there's just not a lot of really significant stuff you could add in terms of it being a big priority in the grand scheme of what we might see in Smash Ultimate, in my opinion.
Even with some of the ones that we were covering near the end, we were kind of hit the point where it's like, I don't know if we're going to be getting anything out of this. So with a lot of the franchises that are left, we're looking at like F-Zero and Punch-Out and Pikmin and stuff like that, where it's like...
So, yeah, why don't we go ahead and jump right into it? I just kind of put them down in order here. First off, Metroid. Metroid's already gotten a ton. There's not much... It feels so fleshed out.
I feel like we've gotten what we're gonna get for Metroid. We got Ridley.
My
who
God!
is
Not only
like,
did we get Ridley,
the
we got
villain.
Dark Samus too.
Yeah.
Like,
we not only
it's
got
so...
Ridley. We not only got Ridley, who was like the main villain, but was also one of the characters that felt like they were missing from Smash.
Oh yeah, he is like by far the secondary Metroid character to Samus.
I suppose there is a possibility that we get Silex or something, but I highly doubt it.
It is possible. And here's what I think. That's the only kind of thing I wrote down in my notes is if we get DLC and Metroid Prime 4 features Silex, maybe that's a possibility because Silex has kind of been built up.
That could be a promotional thing too. And if not
So,
Silex, if there is some other major character that's featured in it pretty heavily,
Right.
yeah. But for base game, I think we're set on Metroid.
Metroid has been so fleshed out to the point where I am just like satisfied with Metroid, which is a great feeling.
Yeah. Getting Dark Samus on top of it is just kind of a really nice touch.
Oh, just icing on the cake.
Yeah. Just getting Ridley was already more than enough. But like getting even more it's good.
It's fantastic.
So Metroid's fine.
Next, Yoshi. We have never, ever seen a secondary Yoshi character, even though Yoshi's one of the original Smash characters.
Well, Yoshi's one of those franchises where it's like, what do you do?
So much of it is
really
tied.
significant...
So much of it is tied to Mario,
yeah.
right?
And
the main major Yoshi characters are other Yoshis and baby versions of already existing Mario characters, and I just don't find that all that interesting.
Yeah, I highly doubt. I've seen some people ask for like Baby Mario and Luigi as like a tag team and stuff like that, and it's just like I just don't see it happening.
Like, you could do it, and it could be good, but I just don't think it's a priority. My favorite secondary Yoshi pick has always been Kamek, which some people argue, well, that's just an actually generic Magic Koopa, but I mean, you can't, it's like Bandana Waddle Dee. You can't deny that there is this one Magic Koopa
At least
from the
Kamek,
Yoshi series who has a significant role.
At least Kamek has a name.
Yeah, well, that's only in the localized version. He's just Magic Koopa in the Japanese.
That's really depressing.
I know. But, like I said, still, you can't deny that obviously there is this solitaire Magic Koopa in the Yoshi series with his own significance. And he could use, like, all the abilities from Magic Koopas ever, and that's a lot. You know, you got the broomstick riding and the magic blast and creating enemies and cloning yourself. Kamek has a lot.
Here's the thing. Yeah, you totally could. Kamek would be a great playable character, like, from a moveset standpoint. It would actually be fantastic.
I think so.
The thing is, when you talk about Kamek or Baby Mario or even like Baby Bowser, which would be, we've already got Bowser Jr. But I think those three are really the only like genuinely interesting options. I still think when you just compare them to like the gravity of like Smash as a whole and just like everybody else that's on this roster, I just don't feel like there's a lot of pull there.
We haven't talked about Star Fox on Smashtalk.
Fair.
We got Wolf back, which, I mean, we got everyone back, but it was still nice to get Wolf back. I always wanted that. After that, I feel like the big, most impressive character you could add would be Crystal using her staff,
she got deconfirmed
which is
again.
an assist trophy.
Yeah.
So the only other propositions I've seen since then are making additional Star Fox echoes, like having Slippy and Peppy as echoes of Fox and Falco, which would be kind of cool because then you get the whole Star Fox team, but it's just kind of extra additions, you know?
It's also like the weird thing with making echoes out of the Star Fox characters is that the three that we already have are already kind of semi-echoes.
Well, what we're going to get then is we're going to get a Marth Roy, Lucina Crom situation with the Star Fox crew.
It would potentially... if we did do that, it would potentially actually be more frustrating than the Fire Emblem situation.
No, actually, one of the propositions I've seen recently is making Leon Pawalski like the Falco of Wolf.
I guess.
So, like, he behaves a lot like Wolf fighting style-wise, but with his own twist on moves and, like, doing a reflector kick with Wolf's reflector and basically being this in-between of Falco and Wolf. And I don't hate that idea, but it's also just kind of an extra addition, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's another situation where, like, I look at it and I'm just like, I think the only character left in Star Fox that has, like, a lot of pull and a lot of appeal to people was Crystal.
Oh, you know what? I didn't write this in my notes, but I have seen propositions for Andross with a body.
I hope that's his full name.
Andross with a body.
You could make Slippy work, honestly, and I think that if we did get somebody additionally, if we did get like a new unique character, I feel like Slippy would be it, and he could do some tech stuff with him.
I've seen it, and I've written it down, like this whole idea for like Slippy with a Star Fox guard based moveset. You basically make him a tower defense styled character.
Yeah, like you could do stuff with Slippy. I'm really not on board with the Echo idea, just because the 3 that we already have are
already so similar.
Yeah, like I feel like if we do get a new Star Fox character, it needs to be somebody unique.
And Crystal really fit that bill in my mind.
It's weird to me that Crystal hasn't been playable.
It's just I think was just lower priority than the other characters we're gonna see.
Which is fair, and it might be one of the situations where it's just like compared to other options that are out there, do we really need another Star Fox character?
She's just in the same boat as characters like Waluigi and Bomberman. They're good characters that would be great Smash characters that just didn't make the cut this time.
Yeah.
F-Zero, I mean, there's one there. I feel like the obvious next newcomer would be Samurai Goro. Unique moveset, been around as long as Captain Falcon, one of the, main F-Zero characters, Captain Falcon's rival, but he's a confirmed assist trophy. So the only other really big proposition I regularly see is making Black Shadow an echo of Captain Falcon. And I don't hate that idea, like the idea being, it's like a Legacy Ganondorf. He's got darkness versions of the Falcon moveset. The problem is, if they were going with that route, which, hey, who knows, maybe they will, I wish they would have made Ganondorf even more different. Because the Ganondorf we have right now is by far the most unique and best we've seen, but he still has Wizard's Foot. And it's like, okay, if you were going to do like this Black Shadow Legacy Ganondorf thing, then you can finally replace Wizard's Foot, which is still just the most glaring weird thing about Ganondorf to me.
F-Zero is something I'm not expecting to see anything from, if only because the series itself has been dormant for a long time.
There are just no hints of it returning either.
So it's just like one of those things when the most F-Zero has gotten in terms of new content has been in Mario Kart. It's just like I don't know. It's a thing where it's like it feels like it's getting less important to add a new F-Zero character every game so far.
I know. It's too bad because like F-Zero has so many cool characters. If you play the games, like man, if F-Zero continued to be a bigger series, I'd be advocating for like, oh sure, Samurai Goro, but then let's bring in Black Shadow and Deathborn and Pico and Mighty Gazelle, and they would all have really cool movesets.
And the thing is, like, if they are going with this villain theme, getting Black Shadow as an Echo wouldn't be terrible.
And people also like the idea because F-Zero, like Yoshi, has yet to even receive a second character despite being in Smash for so long.
And while you can argue that Yoshi is like a Mario spin-off, so like even though he's got his own thing, like it's not that important, F-Zero, he's been repping a franchise by himself for 4 games now.
Oh, yeah.
But that franchise also isn't going anywhere. So
once again, just like everything else we're kind of talking about with these already represented series, it feels like kind of just an extra thing that like they could do, but
yeah, I feel like
why?
I feel like Black Shadow is one of the better Echo opportunities that's on the roster.
Okay.
So if they are just doing a lot of easy, fast Echoes, we could totally see it.
Yeah. Okay.
I just don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Personally, it's one of the things I'd rather see when it comes to Echoes, but I'm just not sure.
All right, next we've got Earthbound. Of course, the thing always with Earthbound is the fact that it is also kind of a dormant series, but it has a lot of good characters. Back in the day, people used to talk about Masked Man as a character because he just had such great moveset potential. He's got the sword, he's got the beam cannon, shield killer, wings. He can do a lot of stuff. Now I see a lot more people talking about Porky because not only is he a villain, he's a villain specifically both to Ness and Lucas who are in the game, so people are upplaying this villains theme, and they're talking about how Porky would be a cool newcomer, and I kind of agree. So I like both those choices. Then on the other spectrum, you have people saying, well, why don't we finish out the trilogy? We have Ness, Lucas, why not add Ninten as an echo to Ness? And the idea I usually see there, which I like, is making him a Ness Lucas blend, like giving him Lucas's PK Fire and maybe some other things like that, so that he's not just, literally a Ness clone, but is actually this kind of third playable character with attributes of both Ness and Lucas.
What's fascinating about the Mother series is that, it hasn't had a new game since, 2006, 2005?
6, I think, yeah.
Yeah. But it's a series that's still growing in popularity.
Well, yeah.
And as more people, as PC gaming in particular becomes more common, as more people are kind of getting into it with this newer wave. It's interesting because PC gaming started out as the way to game, and then consoles kind of took over for a long time, and now starting to move back towards PC. But as more people are getting into it, I think more people are emulating Mother 3 and playing through it. Something I recently did. And so it's fascinating. It's one of the most loyal Nintendo fan bases, I think. And I think that they're aware of that, so that might... they brought Lucas back.
That is true.
I will say that out of the 3 big options, Nintendo is the least interesting to me, just because Ness and Lucas are already pretty similar.
I mean, that might even just come from the fact that he would be kind of an obvious echo, while the other 2 are original.
Yeah, it's also that his game is by far the one that people talk about the least.
Well, yes. I mean, a lot of people, and I'm not saying this is everybody, a lot of people tend to agree that from both a character, story, and gameplay standpoint, and I know that was more than both, but still, that Earthbound is basically Mother done better.
Yeah,
whereas
everything I've heard...
Mother 3 is like a sequel with alternate, ideas.
Mother 3 is a wildly different game than the rest
Mother
of the
3
series.
is its own thing. But Mother 2 is basically the original Mother, but done better, and I kind of agree with that opinion.
I still want to play through it. I'm planning on playing through it, but
I like it, but I wouldn't call it my favorite of the trilogy by any stretch. I have a hard time deciding. I have a hard time deciding what I like more between Earthbound and Mother 3, because I like them both for different reasons. Yeah. I tend to say I like Mother 3 more, but there's still I still revisit Earthbound too.
Well, that's the thing. To me, it's kind of like a I'm sorry, guys. It's Labor Day weekend, and there's a party right outside my goddamn apartment.
I couldn't hear anything, so hopefully it won't come up on the mic.
There's a guy who's just been laying on his horn for 15 seconds straight. I can't stand this. I don't know how people enjoy anything really, but these parties specifically.
Oh man.
What was I saying? It's kind of like a Star Fox 64 situation to me, where it feels like Earthbound was him going I could have done that better, and it's really just taking the earlier game, the game that came before, and refining it and actually making it a more enjoyable experience.
Yeah, making it fleshing it out to everything it should have been.
Because Star Fox 64 is basically just what if we did the original Star Fox well?
Yes, I think it's a really great comparison, actually.
So, and from everything I've seen about the first Mother, and everything I've seen about the fact that Ness and Nintendo are basically the same character design, even. It really does feel like he made Mother. He made it very early, the RPG scene as well. And so it kind of fell victim to a lot of those. From what I've heard, it kind of fell victim to a lot of the things that make those early RPGs extremely difficult to play. And so I think it was really a situation where he was just I feel like I could have done this better.
And that's what Earthbound is.
Yeah, and Earthbound is that. And then Mother 3 is an entirely different thing.
A totally different experience.
I kind of want to do a video just breaking down how different they actually are, because just from a structure standpoint and
you should totally do that.
Intent, everything about it, it's fascinating. They share a similar tone and everything, but they are wildly different in terms of story structure and what they're trying to do, and it's really fascinating. But the point is, I feel like Nintendo, the anal part of me is oh yeah, finishing a trilogy, that sounds cool.
I agree.
But when it comes to
it's just for that purpose alone, I'd be into it.
But when it comes to getting actual value from the character, I feel like there's very few people who have any attachment to Nintendo or the original Mother in comparison to the other two. But you look at how many people are into the Masked Man, because of Mother 3 or into Porky because of the entire series. And it's just like... I feel like Porky outstrips Gygus as a villain, for Smash in particular.
I've seen propositions for Gygus like as being an echo of Mewtwo, and like I can see where that would make sense, but yeah.
Porky feels like he has much more of an impact. He feels much more unique. He feels much more feasible as a character as well. To me, the real question is just either Masked Man or Porky could work, and Ninten could also work, like whatever. But I would hope that if they make another Mother character, they would decide that they needed to put the time into making a unique one as opposed to an Echo.
Okay, that would be great.
If they do
as a
do
Mother
one,
fan,
just because Ness and Lucas are so similar.
That's true too.
It would be nice to like have another character that doesn't use anything remotely similar to them. To me, the question really is just like, is this something that will happen?
And that's hard to say. It's one of the, we haven't really brought it up yet, and that's the thing with Earthbound being such a dormant series. Like, it's kind of just already as it is that they have both Ness and Lucas. That's 2 characters for a series with 3 games only.
I feel like a lot of it's gonna ride on whether or not Mother 3 actually gets localized.
Yeah, you know what?
There's been so many rumors. There's been so many rumors flying around about
always
about that happening soon. And there always are, but like there's been some particularly like there's been a lot. And Reggie like did an interview a while back, a couple months ago, where he said that he heard people talking about Mother 3 and said he couldn't say anything, but I know it's that thing where like they always have to like keep the possibility open because they can't afford to disappoint their fans, and it doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah.
But like the discussion is so common around it, it's just like, why wouldn't Nintendo do it? They're just saying no to money by not doing it. So I feel like if it does happen, I would not be surprised in the slightest if we saw either Porky or Masked Man as a rep.
As a newcomer. Yeah.
Because both would be great to promote the game.
Oh, yeah.
We spent a long time on Mother.
Oh, yeah. The next couple of series I didn't write any notes for, which are Ice Climbers and Game & Watch.
I mean, nothing's going to happen there.
Okay. Kid Icarus is so interesting to me because, I mean, obviously the big thing people remember about Kid Icarus is Kid Icarus Uprising, which I have to admit had a lot of really cool, well fleshed out characters in it.
What I hear a lot is Hades, Medusa, and Viridi.
Those are the 3 I have in my notes.
Yeah.
So, and I explained this in my Echoes videos, there's been propositions to have either like Viridi or Medusa as Echoes of Palutena, and I could see that from a couple standpoints. I mean, all of those characters, Palutena, Viridi, and Medusa, are characters that we kind of see either no powers to like generic powers of, in the sense that they would all have mostly made up movesets in Smash Brothers anyways. Now that's not entirely true. Like, yeah, Medusa has the thing where she fights with her Gorgon head, and that's really unique. But besides that, it's just kind of generic, here's blasts of dark magic. It's like, okay, so you could just take Palutena's moveset and make it blasts of dark magic instead of light magic. Or with Viridi, I don't think we ever see her in combat at all. It's just commanding the forces of nature. So it's like, okay, well, here's Palutena's moveset, but now it's all, nature and flower themed and stuff like that. And so I think they work as echoes. People have their own issues with that. For instance, there is a noticeable height difference between Viridi and Palutena. So can Viridi be an echo of Palutena, given their height difference? And, we just don't know the parameters of that, for one. But, I mean, one thing I offered up is like, well, what if you did a thing like they have with Link and young Link, where they actually kind of are at the same height despite one appearing shorter? And then people will say with Medusa too, which I don't think is as big of an issue, is that Medusa doesn't actually have legs under her cloak. But I think they can work around that.
I would hope that we don't, just because we've already got Dark Pit, I would hope that if we get another Kid Icarus character, that it would be unique.
And both Viridi and Medusa have enough to be unique. You could make a Viridi that just, like, uses nature attacks, or a Medusa that is all, like, snake-based.
Yeah, as far as, like, which one to go with, though, Uprising is one of the only 3DS games I haven't played that I still want to. So I don't know an incredible amount about them yet.
Weird. So here's what I can tell you about them. Medusa is like the set main villain at the beginning of the game, but within a few chapters of the game, you beat her, and the main villain shifts to Hades. But what people like about Medusa, despite that,
she's hot.
Is that no,
oh.
Yeah, that too though. What people like about Medusa is that she is still the classic Kid Icarus villain. So she does have that going for her. And additionally, she would be our very first Nintendo villainess in Smash Brothers, which we don't have yet.
That's fair.
And so, yeah, when you think about it from that standpoint, it's like, oh, I can see why that would be appealing to some people. As for Viridi comes in just a bit after you beat Medusa as kind of a conflict you have to go through. And then for the rest of the game, Viridi is an ally to you. And she becomes kind of like one of the main characters after Pit and Palutena. In fact, now with Chrom in the roster, she's the only character that appears in the Palutena's guidance of Smash Brothers to not be a playable character now.
You know, we do already have a villainess.
Oh, really?
Female Robin.
Some people are taking that angle for Fire Emblem villains.
I'm not going to get into that. All right.
So those are kind of the pros and cons of Viridi and Medusa. Medusa, you get the iconic classic villain. Viridi, you get basically the tertiary main character of Uprising. Maybe fourth after Dark Pit. Kind of hard to say there.
I kind of feel like they would go with one of the villains if they went with one.
Yeah, because the other thing we haven't brought up is Hades, and I talked about Hades in one of my videos about characters I don't think are that likely. I mean, the big thing is he's just not getting talked about as much as Viridi and Medusa, but like he's the true villain of Uprising for one, and for two, I think he has the most to offer as he is in terms of a brand new moveset, and I think he'd be really good. Like, I kind of talked to someone in the video, I could see him, like, being, like, the Dormammu from Marvel vs. Capcom 3 of Smash Brothers, like, the big ultimate evil villain in playable form, with, like, just lots of crazy powers, like meteor swarms and this and that, and I think it'd be really fun. Not to mention, like, he is, like, the most, personality-wise, he is, like, the biggest character of Kid Icarus of Uprising. He just steals the show with his movements and his dialogue and his voice acting. But from what I've heard, that's only in the localized version. I guess the Japanese Hades is kind of stock and boring. That's just what I've heard. But the localized Hades left just such a big impression.
Nintendo's localization teams have like been just killing it the last couple of years.
Yeah, I agree.
Even on things as simple as like Rusty's Real Deal Baseball, like the localization is just hilarious.
Okay. So I honestly believe Hades would be the coolest newcomer they could do, but he doesn't get talked about as much because I kind of also agree that Medusa and Viridi have other aspects to offer that are very appealing as character choices.
That's fair. I wouldn't be surprised if they went with Medusa.
But then, then you get back to the other thing that you were kind of bringing up. We already have Pit Palutena and Dark Pit. That's a pretty good amount of character representation for a series that has 3 games.
That's like the main thing, and like Uprising is like the only one that people really cared about.
Yeah, and like I said, it's a conflict of interest for me because I can't deny that Uprising had just a great sense of character, and from that alone, it makes me interested in seeing those characters in Smash Brothers. But like, that's all just from one game.
I think it really just comes down to, compared to the other people on the roster, do any of these characters feel like they have impact and that people would be happy to see them in comparison to like other characters? Because like I don't think the game count really counts that or really matters that much.
In the face of that, no, it doesn't.
So I don't know. I think it could definitely happen if we're talking about having a couple newcomers left out of all these smaller franchises. I feel like Kid Icarus is one of the most likely.
Okay. The next one on my list is Wario. To be honest,
Yeah.
since we didn't get Ashley, I'm really doubtful we'll get anything.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the big Wario characters right now are the WarioWare characters, and Ashley was the one with all of the fan popularity. And without that, all the WarioWare characters are kind of equals. The only ones that kind of stand out from an actual gameplay story standpoint are, in my opinion, Jimmy T and Mona. And it's not like they particularly have a ton to offer as Smash Brothers newcomers, and they don't have the popularity Ashley did. So I just don't see why any of them would be picked over Ashley to become playable.
I still think Captain Syrup would be really interesting, but I'm not expecting it.
Right, I did write down the Wario Land series as well as kind of a footnote here. The problem is, it's pretty much dormant.
I wouldn't... The thing is, though, with Wario, I feel like if they ever take a break from WarioWare at any point, I feel like they would go back to it.
Maybe. It's really hard to tell. Wario Land Shake It, from what I heard, actually did not sell all that well.
It's such a fascinating franchise.
I know. I mean,
because for how many games there actually are, for how many games there actually are in the Wario series, you never really hear people talk about them.
That's the thing, man. When I talk to people about Wario Land on like some of these, servers and stuff I'm on, man, they'll say like Wario Land is the best Mario or the best Nintendo platformer series that nobody's ever played.
Yeah, they're really good games and they're really unique.
They are. They're all
but nobody
solid
talks about them.
And they're all unique. And oh man, you get back to classic Wario Land games, you got all the transformations. It had a lot of cool stuff going for it.
It's really
so few people have played them, and why?
It's really fascinating. I wonder if they sell better in Japan than they did here or something. Because I
don't.
How do they keep getting games when I can't find anybody here who's played them?
Yeah, it's such a conundrum.
But yeah, I'm not seeing anything for Wario.
Not right now.
There's a lot of stuff I would like.
Yeah,
I just don't see it happening.
The next franchise I have down is Metal Gear, which I didn't write any notes on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of impressive that we got Snake back.
That's fair. Yeah, I don't see how you could work any of it. I guess you could try to put Raiden in, but I don't see it happening.
Sonic, on the other hand, that's always a talking point.
Shadow is the most likely Echo to me.
Oh my gosh, so many people are talking about Shadow. It's so interesting too because we've had no official word, as official as leaks get, but we have had no word from any of these big leakers that Shadow is in. And despite that, so many people are just assuming Shadow's going to be an Echo. And honestly, I agree. It just seems to make so much sense. I mean, you're looking for characters that make sense as Echoes. There's Shadow, who literally, in a lot of his appearances, not all of them, because people are like, well, he can do the Chaos powers, and it's like, okay, that's true, but still, gameplay-wise, in many, many Sonic games, Shadow is just Sonic in terms of abilities. That's how he is in Sonic Adventure 2, that's how he is in Sonic Heroes. And then you start seeing but he does these combo hits and uses guns and motorcycles and shit. But classic Shadow is just alternate Sonic. And so when you look at characters that make sense as Echoes, Shadow stands out. That's one thing. We haven't seen his assist trophy yet, and instead we have seen a new Sonic assist trophy. And just between all those things, it really seems like, yeah, Shadow's a big possibility, ain't he?
Yeah.
Besides that, there actually is, talk about what if they added a Sonic newcomer. Because, I mean, the whole deal there really is, we are starting to see some of the other third-party franchises get second characters, right? Like Konami got Simon Belmont and Richter on top of it. And there's rumors right now that they're going to add a second character from Square Enix games, not to mention just the rumors of Geno. So if the other third parties follow suit, you could add a totally new Sega character. But to be honest, I don't think there's a Sega character that stands out in the face of just having another Sonic character.
I'm thinking.
And I wrote down some notes for that for our next video, but still.
That's fair. Yeah, that's new franchises, right? As far as Sonic goes. I think...
And, like, as far as that goes, the argument I see is Tails versus Eggman, and I'm on the Tails train.
Really? I think it'd be... Well,
here's let me get in mind. Let me get in mind here really quick. First of all, traditionally in Smash Brothers, we've seen the main sidekicks before the villains. We got Luigi and Diddy before we got Bowser and K. Rool. But besides just that, to me, like, Tails is the first thing that comes to mind after Sonic. Like, that's just a thing on its own. Is Sonic and Tails. Like, that's just such a big, iconic video game duo in my mind. And I think Tails has plenty to offer moveset-wise. I mean, for one, like Sonic, he has a full moveset in Sonic the Fighters, which is pretty interesting, actually. Like, he does, like, these kind of cool kicks based on his walking animation. He does, like, Tails drops where, like, he, like, picks up the opponent, flies him up, and then just slams him down. So there's enough to work with just that. But then, like, if you want to go with, like, Sonic Battle or more modern Sonic references, he has all of his, like, tech abilities, setting traps and electric fields and... cannon blasts and stuff. So I think he's got the moveset for it. And like I said, I just see him as the obvious secondary character to Sonic. On the other hand, you have Eggman, who you get, all the other stuff. You get a main villain, you get, a mech-based fighter, maybe a robot building-based moveset of some sort. So Eggman has plenty to offer as well. I'm just on Team Tails.
I feel like when you look at the two of them, I feel like Tails makes a lot more sense as an actual fighter in Smash, and Eggman makes more sense as an assist trophy. Just because... Yeah, he's got his mech from, like, Adventure 2 Battle. Or Sonic Adventure 2, I guess you could just say that.
Right.
But, like... I don't see it functioning as well in, like, Smash's engine and everything as just, like, Tails would. Just as Tails. On the other hand, him in any number of his mechs, from like even classic games, as an assist trophy would be really, really cool.
Yes.
Or even as stage hazards. Like, oh my god, a stage hazard? A stage hazard for a Sonic stage where Eggman just keeps coming in as like his various like classic Sonic
Wouldn't that be
mechs.
cool? Like, he's got, the Wrecking Ball mech. Oh, now he's in the Egg Destroyer. Oh, now he's in the Egg Emperor. Oh, now he's in,
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I feel like he has a lot more to offer in that department, and Tails has a lot more to offer as a playable character.
In Relax's Alex's new video, he was actually talking about he thinks it's going to have both Tails as a newcomer and Shadow as an Echo. And I actually could see them taking that route. I don't know if it's super likely, but I would not be disappointed.
If there's any third-party franchise that's going to have 3 characters in it, it's
Sonic.
Yeah, it's going to be Sonic.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
I can't imagine anything else happening with Sonic. We already got Knuckles as an assist trophy, so...
I just feel like if we're going to get Richter Belmont, like, we're going to get Shadow. I just feel like...
I feel that way.
Like,
I feel that way.
We've gotten some Echoes that seem like they'd be way lower priority than Shadow would be. But I also feel like Shadow would be one of the last things they'd reveal.
The next thing I've got is Pikmin, which... I don't know.
Pikmin is bizarre. A lot of people want Louie. They either want Louie to be in, or they want Alph to be split off from Olimar. And either way, they want them to be like an Olimar Echo. And I just don't... I don't think that with the way that Olimar functions, making an Echo fighter for him makes a lot of sense.
Because it's such a unique move set. Like, what kind of variations are you gonna do?
People are saying like, oh, you give him the rock Pikmin instead of purple Pikmin. I'm like, I don't know if that's enough. I don't know if
does
it's
that
worth
really
it.
make a big difference?
What I would rather see with the series is I'd rather that he just have like costumes for all the other captains, like he does for
That's
Elf.
exactly what I put down in my notes. That's what I want to see the most.
Because with Pikmin, like
Olimar has
thing...
an Elf costume. Give him Charlie, Brittany, Louie, and the president, and I'll always play as the president.
Because the thing with Pikmin is it's like Olimar isn't like the featured part of the moveset. He's the exciting part of it. It's the Pikmin. Like,
yeah.
The Pikmin are the interesting thing about the series, and they're really what the moveset is and what the fighter is. So
right, my idea there was, you're basically your character is Pikmin and captain of your choice.
Yeah. It's just I just don't see it. I especially don't see it taking priority over a lot of other things that I think they'd rather put in the game.
I have seen one proposition that's Louis as a complete newcomer, utilizing the abilities of like the enemies from Pikmin as like a King of Bugs type moveset.
That feels super obscure.
I agree.
And I think it's one of those situations where I think when they look at like the time to develop something like that, and then just like, would people really like lose their mind over getting this character? I just feel like it's not a heavy hitting enough thing to put him in like as a unique character over any of that. I think Pikmin is really well represented by just having one guy that uses Pikmin. And this is coming as somebody who like Pikmin's one of my favorite like Nintendo series.
Oh god,
it's one of my favorite series like altogether, like Nintendo or not.
Yeah.
And it's just like I just don't. I feel like we have Pikmin with that one character. It'd be cool to see some assists with some of the enemies or something. A burrowing snag.
Was it this game or the last game that added the swooping snitch bug? I think it was the last game. Or did we ever get the swooping snitch bug? Because I always thought that would be a cool assist. I know we got burrowing snag.
The thing is,
I know we got burrowing snagret.
I almost always play with 4 specifically. I like always played with the items off because I was generally playing it with people who wanted to do tournaments and stuff.
Right. I can't remember. I feel like because I always said swooping snitch bug would be a great assist, and I can't remember if they ever actually did that or if that was still in my mind.
Either way, I don't think we've seen him for this game.
But yeah, maybe. But we have seen burrowing snagret, and that's pretty great. Especially because it has been shown, and I'm so happy about this. When you summon it, it goes. Ah!
I'm glad we have him. I hope that it'd be kind of cool to get a bread bug.
Oh, yeah.
Like you could do like an interesting mechanic with that. Like you just gotta beat the crap out of him to get an item or something.
Yeah, he flips over and drops like something.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'd be so into that. But yeah, that's all I really think we can get with Pikmin.
I did not write down any notes for Rob.
Yeah, it's not even a franchise.
It's a toy.
Rob is a novelty. We're not gonna see anything else out of the Rob reference.
I don't think we'll even see a stage ever officially.
What would you do? I guess Gyromite, but like
Gyromite would be the only thing you could do.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, it's like, what are your other NES classic stages here? You got Balloon Fight, Mario Brothers. You know, all these really well-known NES classics.
Yeah.
And here's Gyromite.
He's bizarre because he's like the one exception to like. He's not really a video game character. He's just he's a novelty. He's such a bizarre choice.
Next is Animal Crossing, which of course the big rumor has been Isabelle is coming, and we don't even know if she's as an Echo or as a newcomer.
I'm expecting her to be an Echo.
I'm expecting her to be an Echo just because I don't think they'd prioritize her as a newcomer, but there are things people have proposed for her as a newcomer, and there are people who will argue that Isabelle's a big Nintendo icon now.
You absolutely could make her unique. You can make anybody unique.
You can make anyone unique. And yeah, usually I see, propositions for her that are like a terraforming moveset where like she's building buildings, like a SimCity
I am just going to back
thing.
her being an Echo because then if she ends up being unique, awesome. That's an extra surprise.
Yeah.
But like she's another one of the Echoes that I consider to be like incredibly high priority when you look at her popularity. Like I also think she'll be one of the last ones they reveal.
And then besides that, I mean, gosh, it just feels like the villager encompasses Animal Crossing within his moveset. I mean, there's Animal Crossing characters that are good that you could add, but like
Mr. Rossetti picks a fight.
See, I don't know. I advocated for Mr. Rossetti back in the day because I was like, I could see him like actually beating the shit out of people, but I don't know if there's much more we can say about Animal Crossing.
Blanca asks you to draw. Remember that? That's a throwback.
Oh my god. And then for alternate costumes, you get to draw them yourself.
Yes.
That'd be cool.
Yes.
Mega Man.
Yeah, that's been an interesting.
I mean, the thing is, a lot of the big Mega Man characters are already pseudo deconfirmed because, like, okay, Zero is an assist trophy, and pretty much every like iteration of Mega Man is part of Mega Man's final Smash. So would they also make them playable? Like, I mean, that kind of eliminates Proto Man and Base and Mega Man X and Mega Man Volna, you know?
What I would say is that since that is like in a cutscene, it's possible that they just don't care as much.
Yeah, I could see that. Now, the one
There's also-
proposition... Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, there's also so many different series and character designs for that basically involve like different interpretations of like the basic characters that you could get away with changing things around. I would, to me, the ones that I would bank on the most would be Proto Man, Roll, or X.
And I did want to bring up Roll, because that's someone we haven't seen yet.
Should be interesting.
And, like, so is she unique, or is she an Echo? Or does she work as either?
I feel like she'd have to be unique.
Because one of the ideas that got bounced around to me with Roll was if you give her, like, the cool custom Mega Man special moves that Mega Man used to have in Smash 4, under the assumption that that custom moves aren't returning. Like, if you give her, like, Hyper Bomb, Danger Wrap, Beat, and Plant Shield, which were 4 of Mega Man's customs in 4, and that would be pretty cool.
I
Because
guess
Mega Man had some pretty fleshed out customs, including Beat.
I've heard that idea be dropped for Proto Man, where they're like, we can make Proto Man a Mega Man Echo. And it's always weird to me because that's just not... To me, it feels like it's not acknowledging the unique qualities that that character actually has.
Well, right. I mean, if you had Proto Man, I could see him being a Mega Man Echo, but wouldn't you at least want, like, a side B that's Shield Rush?
You'd want something with his... yeah. Like he builds, like, everything around his shield. And it's just kind of like... And the stuff that Mega Man does... Like, Mega Man's signature thing is copying his enemy's abilities.
Yeah.
And it's, like, what sets him apart from the other robots. Is like, he was built to be adaptable. He was built to... take things from the Robot Masters and, like... I know that they... in some of the later games, they made that a thing that Proto Man also does for some reason.
And Base as well, I think.
I don't know why they decided to go that route. It feels like retconning, like, some basic stuff about the robots, but I guess the Mega Man lore isn't that important.
No, I mean, lore is not important in the face of gameplay in video games, in my opinion.
It depends on the series, but, like, with the Mega Man series especially, like, I don't think it's that big
You
a
can be
deal.
flexible there.
At least not with the classic Mega Man series. There are some, like, network transmission and stuff gets pretty big into story, but, like...
That's true, but...
Or Battle Network, or whatever you want to call it. The network series of games.
Yeah.
Like, that gets pretty big into story, but I feel like for the classic one, like, whatever.
Yeah.
I just feel weird about it just because I do feel like that is like Mega Man's signature thing, and the other characters have their own signature things.
Okay, I see where you're coming
And so,
from.
to me, it just feels weird to make them a Mega Man Echo. You could do it. It just, to me, it feels like it's kind of ignoring the purpose of that character.
I do, and Roll has had her own playable appearances in other fighting games like Tatsunoko vs. Capcom, and I believe Marvel vs. Capcom 2. One of those games had Roll playable.
She was in MVC.
Okay, so you can do that with Roll, and honestly, just as a standalone character, I don't mind, because then you get the rock and roll theme.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, not theme song. For those of you who don't know, Mega Man is called Rockman in Japan because it's supposed to be rock and roll. They're a duo. So it's kind of the Sonic Tales
and
thing, not quite as much.
Proto Man's name in Japan was Blues.
Blues. So then when you have bass, that makes more sense.
Yeah, then you got bass
The
and
bass
treble.
joke doesn't really cross over as well when you change Mega Man and Proto Man's names.
Bass's dog is treble. And then I think they
Rush. I think they just wanted to avoid using Rockman because people would think that he's like a rock-based superhero or something.
And then Rush and Beat.
Yeah.
It's just like the entire series was like built around the concept of rock music basically.
And so I like it from that standpoint that you get the rock and roll combo. So.
But yeah, I don't. Mega Man's just a weird series because it has a wealth of characters that could be put in that would have unique movesets. But I just don't know, especially with, I feel like Zero was the most identifiable one in terms of like being like a unique character that's very different than Mega Man, who's still very popular.
I mean, yes, Zero got so popular.
Representing the X series, and
Zero got so popular, he got his own spin-off series.
Because he's the Proto Man of the X series, and he's more unique. He's even more unique than Proto Man is in like the classic Mega Man series. So like you'd be kind of representing Proto Man and the X series with one of the most beloved and one of the most unique like main characters.
But he's a confirmed assist.
Yeah. So I don't know where you go from here. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get another Mega Man character.
Oh, not at all. Like I said, this is all just theoretical. I honestly, I guess we should backtrack a little bit here. I think the most likely scenario is we get nothing new for Mega Man, to be honest.
I would love to be able to have Mega Man.exe and X as just like alternate costumes, though.
I would love Volnut. Yeah.
Volnut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From
in peace.
From Legends.
I know. Rest in peace.
I didn't put any notes for Wii Fit.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
Okay, we'll just skip it. Punch Out, like
I've seen people want like Glass Joes and Echo. I'm just like that. No,
that doesn't make sense. That does not make sense to me. Like I get it. People are like, oh, well, if you're going to have Echoes for characters, then I mean the scrawniest and smallest that you could possibly match Little Mac is with Glass Joe, and I'm like, yeah, sure. Couple problems there. One, Joe is still about twice as tall as Mac. That's the whole joke of Punch-Out, is that everyone is a giant compared to Mac. Two, why would you want to play as Glass Joe, the character whose gimmick is being weak?
Yeah, there's a lot of characters that have popped up because people feel like they have to force Echoes into places, and it's like,
don't force an
if there's
Echo
just
if you don't
not
need it.
a good
Glass
idea for an
Joe
Echo
does
here,
not make a sense to me as a Little Mac Echo. It breaks the whole pattern of the point of Punch-Out.
Yeah, if there's
what
just
I like
not...
what I like better is if you're gonna go with a Punch-Out newcomer, you add an enemy boxer, because then the concept you have there is like, okay, you have Little Mac the main character, and then you have the enemy boxer, someone who is slower and more based on dealing big amounts of power and is just toweringly tall. And there's lots of ideas I like for that. Doc Lewis is the secondary character, King Hippo as an icon, Bald Bull is the most recurring character of the series and also being a notable icon, Mr. Sandman as being the boss character of Punch-Out Wii. And I like just having that concept more than forcing a Little Mac Echo.
If we really need an Echo, we should put in King Hippo as a K. Rool Echo.
Oh yeah, there we go.
They both have crowns.
yeah, they both do the crown
He can throw pineapples instead of shooting the blunderbuss.
What's he gonna do for his... What? What?
He can still do the belly counter with the
manhole cover. Yeah, that'd be perfect. But what about the up B?
He can.
How about he gets King Dedede's up B?
He flaps his arms. Just flaps his arms real hard.
I don't think, as much as I love Punch-Out, Punch-Out is my favorite, one of my favorite series for Nintendo of all time. That's like one of my big ones. I don't think Punch-Out needs or is likely to get another character in Smash Bros.
Yeah, I mean, that's the case with a lot of these smaller series. Is a lot of times, like, they're smaller. They have the one rep because it's like, oh, this is kind of a cool series and we should represent it. But, like, you don't really need to go further than that for most of these. And Punch-Out is kind of that situation. I would love some of the enemy boxers as assist trophies.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there are some that would just be... I mean, if you had a Bald Bull assist trophy that just goes around bull charging people and one shot killing them, there we go.
The Great Tiger just, like, teleporting around.
Vanishing all over the place. I mean, Great Tiger is so good for just the special abilities he has.
Soda Popinski just drinking.
Great. He doesn't even fight.
He just goes on a bender and passes out on the middle of the stage.
Pac-Man.
Yeah. I've seen, like, oh, Miss Pac-Man as an Echo, but I don't know.
It's like, great. Does that... I mean, is that really that interesting?
I think if anything, she would just be an alternate costume. But...
Like, I don't know. Like, it's like, yeah, you can do that. Is that... Is that really all that great?
I feel like that's all we're gonna get when it comes to like classic Namco franchises, just because like they made his moveset incorporate like all the arcade classics.
That's true. I mean, we can talk about this more when we talk about Unrepresented. I mean, I'm kind of interested in Dig Dug, but
yeah, we'll talk more about all the third parties in the Unrepresented, honestly. But
okay, now here's one I actually, we're starting to get down to the end here, but now we got some big ones. Xenoblade.
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
People are saying that like Rex and Pyra are too new to like have been included. I think there was plenty of time.
I'm actually, it's hard to tell, because what is true is that development for Smash Ultimate began based on the dates we have available. We believe that Smash Ultimate's development began before designs were finished for Xenoblade Chronicles 2's art at all. What they could have done is had a placeholder for Rex and Pyra, knowing there was going to be a Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and then being like, okay, once these characters' designs get done, that's when we'll start working on these characters.
And that's what I'm saying.
That is possible. That is possible. But I mean, that would have been before. That is possible, and that would have been a lot of anticipation. But I feel like that still is then like intentionally just skipping over Xenoblade Chronicles X, which had just released at that time, that they were put this project plan in development. And I guess I'm just wishful thinking. I really loved Xenoblade Chronicles X, and so I really just don't want them to skip over it.
I don't know what direction they're gonna go. I just think that there's no way that as soon as development begins, like 4 years before the game comes out, he's completely shut out of like, all right, these are the characters, and we're not gonna be open to anything happening, because like they would have still known about Rex and Pyra, like years before Smash came out.
That so like this is happening, that we're making this.
Yeah, and like they would have known about it, and like I guess he could be like, no, I'm sorry, we're not gonna go with it with this popular thing that fans want to see, because I wasn't given 5 years heads up. Like I don't.
Well, I think more than that, it's like you'd at least want to see what the reception of the game itself is first, maybe.
Maybe, but just going off of how successful like the initial Xenoblade was, I don't know.
Well, maybe. I still think that my ideal is that they decided to follow up Shulk with particularly Elma for Xenoblade Chronicles X. We can talk about that in a little bit. And then down the line, they decide to add Rex and Pyra as DLC. And I would be really into that. Then you have like all three of the main protagonists. And, like, I know some people are going to be like, well, gosh, isn't the Xenoblade series kind of just new and young to be doing that? And maybe it is. But, like, I want to see Xenoblade kind of reach that same, like, standard that we're seeing with, like, Pokemon characters in Smash, and to an extent, Fire Emblem characters in Smash, where it's like, hey, this is a continuing series with a shifting cast, and the protagonists have something new to offer with each installment.
I mean, I think it's possible, just looking at Kid Icarus Uprising. Because, like, Kid Icarus was a dead series. And, like, you know, they got Palutena and Dark Pit for one game.
Right.
I think it's entirely possible that we could get both Elma and Rex and Pyra.
Yeah, I think so too. And in fact,
my only thing
I think that's
is,
the ideal
and
thing.
As somebody who likes all three games, I just don't know if X was the kind of game that produced characters that people would really want to see in Smash that much.
Well,
I do know that there are people who do like Elma, but I would not be.
Now we know Elma is going to be in 2 as DLC.
Yeah, but so is Cosmos and a lot of people.
Okay.
Like they're kind of representing the entire Xeno
universe.
I kind of want to say series, but like it's
the
not
entire
really
Xenoverse.
What was that?
The entire Xenoverse.
The entire Xenoverse. Yes. Dude, if Goku gets into Xenoblade, then like he's a lock for Smash.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like I just feel like in terms of producing the kinds of characters that he'd want to put in Smash, I feel like Xenoblade 2 just falls more into that camp.
All right. Okay.
I just feel like when you're looking at like the general types of characters that we get and the kind of development that they have and the kind of games that they come from, Rex and Pyra just feel like something that he would want to do more than Elma.
So, any speculation aside, for me, Elma is one of my most wanted characters for this game. Because Xenoblade Chronicles X was just a game I absolutely loved, for one.
Yeah, it's a great game.
And I mean, and in that game, right, I mean, yes, your main character is your own avatar-created character, and so some people have proposed that route, kind of like, how you have Robin and Corrin, that you have Cross, the default character avatar of that game. The problem I have with that is, I mean, Cross is just really not interesting, in my opinion. It's more about the characters that you're teamed up with and the interaction they have with you and all of that. And when you look at that, Elma is kind of the de facto leader of your squad and is the one that's really carrying all the story and plot. And additionally, unlike characters like Robin, Cross doesn't really have any unique abilities. You kind of set him on a path which is a character class of one of the other characters of the game. So it makes just as much sense to me, even from a moveset standpoint, to just pick one of the characters. And when you look at any of these polls that talk about adding a Xenoblade Chronicles X character, Elma always comes out on top by far. And I just think that makes sense. She is kind of the icon and the leader of your characters from Xenoblade Chronicles X. From a moveset standpoint, too, I think she's really great. Because at base, I mean, first, when you talk about Xenoblade Chronicles X, I know a lot of people attribute it to the scales and the mech piloting, but really, I mean, I would say about 50% of the game's combat is done on the ground just as much as it is done in the mechs. Because it takes a while for you to get your mechs in the first place, and even then, a lot of important story missions force you to be on the ground. And from that standpoint, Elma's class that she learns all of her arts from incorporate dual guns for range and dual swords for close combat. And I mean, I think that range of moves and abilities that she gets based on those moves, all in itself is a really unique concept for Super Smash Brothers. And I just really like her from that standpoint as well. So I mean, just everything pulls together for a character I really like. She's got a moveset idea I really like, she's a character I really like, and she's from a game I really like. So between all those things, like, Elma is just a really high prospect for me.
Yeah, like I said, it's, if you get anybody from X, I think it'll be her.
Oh yeah.
To me, it's just, is this, as somebody putting together a roster of heavy hitting characters for a game celebrating like Nintendo franchises,
mm-hmm.
would he look to X or would he focus on 2?
Right.
That's just like
that's
my only
the
thing.
question.
Or would he just do both? Who's to say?
Right.
I would be fine.
I hope he
I'd
does
be fine
both.
with either.
I kind of
both.
feel like the addition of Shulk in the first place was kind of a breakaway from what we saw, and he kind of acknowledged that too when he announced Shulk. It's like, this is the type of character we don't usually see in Smash Brothers. So I'm hoping that Elma will be kind of the same sentiment.
Possibly. Either way, I think both are great choices, and it's just we'll just have to see what he does.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I did not write any notes for Duck Hunt.
Yeah. We need to get Duck by himself.
Solo Duck.
Solo Duck.
Street Fighter. So is there any doubt Ken is happening?
He's almost as likely as Shadow to me.
I mean, I think even more so, given the leaks that we've heard. I mean, they're all still rumors, but you know.
Sure, but discounting the leaks, I just think that just Shadow's inane amount of popularity is the thing putting him over Ken.
And what I always keep bringing up, you know, there are people who will argue to me, it's like, well, Ken isn't really just like Ryu in newer Street Fighter games. Like, okay, that is fair.
That's how he started.
But yes, Ken is still like the original icon of Echo fighters in fighting games. Like that is just a thing, is Ryu and Ken. So I really want it just for that reference.
Yeah, they started out like the same martial arts teacher and everything. Like it's, yeah.
Yeah. Now, do you think we could see other Street Fighter characters? I mean, Chun-Li by herself is such a big icon.
Yeah, I feel like Chun-Li is the most likely.
The only thing is that when we'll get to the other, I don't know if they would prioritize Chun-Li over a different Capcom main character.
We'll talk more about that in the next one, because I have some thoughts about that.
But on her own, I think Chun-Li's a cool character.
Yeah. I kind of want Guile, just for the song.
I think they're going to have the song anyway.
I really hope so.
We've seen that they're going to have 32 Street Fighter songs.
I hope they better be in there.
They better have Guile. I mean, personally, I like Zangief's theme and Cammy's theme the most, but I mean, Guile is such a classic, you know.
Yeah, Cammy's definitely not going to be in, because of the Switch's
because
like
you want
small
an E10 rating.
Well, no, I was going to say because of the Switch's small cartridge sizes, they won't be able to fit those thighs.
That's the route you're going with.
Yeah.
Okay. We've got 3 series left. This is winding up being a pretty long recording session, which we kind of knew it would be.
Yes.
So, Final Fantasy.
So, wow. All right. I've got a lot of thoughts.
Yeah,
here.
how's that for a topic?
I've got a lot of thoughts here.
Okay, I want to start with your thoughts, because...
Okay.
Yeah.
So, the rep that we have is Cloud.
Yes.
From Final Fantasy VII, which is... It's pretty hard to deny that is like the biggest game in the series. It's one of the most influential games of all time.
Yeah. And Cloud himself is like the most iconic, recognizable Final Fantasy character there is.
Yes. So there's been a lot of questions about where to go from there. Do we stay in 7? Do we represent other major games in the series? Do we go with a villain? Do we go with an Echo? As far as Echoes go, if we do get an Echo, Zack Fair is where you have to go. It is literally...
that is Cloud.
Yeah. It is literally... to be fair, though, to be true to the canon of the series, then they would have to make Cloud an Echo of Zack, not the other way around.
I see. We got like a Simon Richter thing going on here.
But, yeah, so, like, it's... If there's an Echo, like, hands down, that's what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah, totally.
If there is an Echo. The thing is, so... I'm trying to figure out how to nail this down. Okay, if we go with villains.
Okay.
If we go with the villain theme, obviously Sephiroth is a very popular character. He's from Final Fantasy VII. He's Cloud's rival. He would have he's another sword wielder, but he would still be pretty unique. He's got Meteor, which would be
with
an
the
obvious
style
Final
of sword.
Smash. The whole, I'm sure the one-winged angel could be worked into it in some sense. Like his wing, he could do some stuff with that. And he does have some, at least, attacks with a sword that would be... I imagine him being a very floaty character with a long range, which I think is different than most of the sword wielders that we have.
Oh yeah.
I think he's a very distinct possibility as a villain. However, if we want to represent other things in the series, Final Fantasy VI is another one of the huge entries. And the interesting thing about 6 is that the standout character from 6 isn't the protagonist. The standout character from 6 is the villain, Kefka.
Oh, I see what you're going for.
Kefka is up there with Sephiroth in terms of being just like an icon in gaming. In the way that like there's a lot of villains that are made in games today that pay homage to Kefka.
Now I do want to bring up one thing really quick. Once again, just from what I've heard, like Hades, I've heard that Kefka is not nearly as interesting in the Japanese release of the game.
Fuck
in terms
the
of
Japanese.
dialogue.
I don't care about the Japanese. They're not my demographic. I've checked my YouTube analytics. Japan is like 0.2% of my viewership.
Oh, I see. Gotcha.
So I'm sorry, the 3 of you from Japan that are watching this right now, fuck you. Get better taste in characters. It feels pretty hard to deny to me that if we do get villains, Kefka and Sephiroth are like the choices. Kefka also was on a Nintendo system. Six was the last Final Fantasy to be on Nintendo before
the split.
Before Nintendo made a horrible business decision and made Sony go to PlayStation, and then decided not to follow them with discs. And so Final Fantasy went to Sony for a long time. So Kefka's also a character with Nintendo history.
That's true.
So I feel like Sephiroth is more of a global icon specifically as a character, but I feel like Kefka had more impact for fans of the series, and also has like kind of an impact. I feel like you can point out villains in other games that are like clearly taking hints from Kefka more than you can point out villains in other games that are taking hints from Sephiroth.
All right.
In the sense that Sephiroth is... I'm trying to figure out how to say this without like misrepresenting him. It's not... I wouldn't say he's like a generic villain, because he does have very interesting motivations behind a lot of the stuff, and he actually has a pretty cool character arc. And when we get into like backstory and everything, like he's like a very interesting character. But I feel like he stands out less from a design standpoint, I guess.
Oh, okay.
So I feel like Kefka had more impact in that sense.
Okay.
Like Kefka as just like the mad clown. He's got a very iconic laugh and everything. It's just like I feel like it could go either way if he goes with a villain. It could be either Kefka or Sephiroth, and they both have very strong things going for them.
So, do you have any other notes on any other Final Fantasy characters?
Oh boy, do I.
Okay.
There's also the idea of representing kind of Final Fantasy, especially when it started out, was very heavily driven by classes, and kind of like these are the kinds of characters that are in Final Fantasy. Or these are like RPG characters. They kind of set the standard in a lot of ways. And so I've seen a lot of ideas thrown around about having a character who isn't a specific named character, but is a kind of generic, like classic design, like from the first Final Fantasy, of one of the main classes. And the most popular out of those is Black Mage.
There's one in particular I hear a lot.
Black Mage is by far the most popular.
Oh yeah.
It's an incredibly iconic design to the point that they have had characters in their games. In Final Fantasy IX, they have just... Black Mages are just mass-produced, and they all just have like that classic design. And Vivi is one of the most memorable characters in Final Fantasy IX, and he just has that design.
If there was a Final Fantasy character that I'd say is iconic as Cloud, I'd say it's Black Mage.
Yeah, so if they go that route, if they decide like instead of getting like a specific character, we want like more of a generic kind of just classic Final Fantasy class, I think it's undoubtedly Black Mage. Mm-hmm. And I'd be really curious to see what they would do in terms of kind of bringing him into like a 3D like Smash kind of art style. I'd be really curious to see what that looks like. And I would just be fascinated to see how they'd make him work. Because of the nature of it being like a sprite thing and just turn-based battles where they're not really moving around, it's just like casting these spells. Like there's so little set in stone for its movement and just general fighting abilities outside of, you know, casting elemental spells and some other stuff. Like that you really would just have free reign with like designing this character. So that'd be really interesting. As far as other things I have seen, I've seen some people ask for Terra, who's the protagonist of Final Fantasy VI.
I was going to bring that up.
I just don't think that... I think she stands out less than some of the other people you get in your party. She stands out less... I think characters like Sabin and Cyan and Shadow are like more... I feel like people like them more than Terra. Terra feels kind of bland in comparison to a lot of Final Fantasy characters. You could make a unique moveset out of her, absolutely. But I feel like she's not talked about nearly as much as Kefka is.
Really? Okay.
No, not even close. Terra's not one of the main takeaways from Final Fantasy VI, I don't think.
Okay, because I will say, from the circles that I frequent, I rarely see Kefka get brought up, but I see Terra's name a lot.
As a speculation thing, or what?
As a speculation thing.
I wonder if a lot of that is people who didn't play a lot of Final Fantasy, but
well,
just
here's the thing,
popular.
and the reason I'm not talking as much here, Chris knows better than anyone that I am a Final Fantasy dummy. So.
Oh God, play the clip from Pikmin, Chris. Put in the clip from Pikmin.
Final Fantasy VII is about a guy named Cloud, and he has a really big sword that a friend gave to him in one of the sequel prequels. And then he has a rival named Sephiroth who's a jerk, and he kills one of his friends, and he's really sad about it. So he makes a team of two other people, Tifa, who punches stuff, and a guy whose name starts with a B, who has guns, and they go out to fight Sephiroth. So like I said, the only thing I can offer here, which I always think is a good perspective too, is as someone who doesn't know Final Fantasy, what characters I still know by name just because I see them or hear them a lot. And I will admit, Terra I've only heard in speculation circles, whereas Kefka I've heard before, speculation for Smash Brothers.
That's the thing. Yeah, I feel like I've seen Terra getting brought up in speculation, and I really just feel like it's people looking for characters to bring up, because Terra's not a highly celebrated character in like the Final Fantasy community like at all.
And I would say here are the characters, me being the big Final Fantasy dummy I am, that I have heard of prior to this. Kefka, Cloud, Sephiroth, Tifa Lockhart, and Squall. And that's about it.
I do think so. Okay, so I know that you said you've wanted like Tifa.
Yeah, I think she could be a fun secondary to Cloud.
I totally think most of the party members from Final Fantasy VII would be fascinating to have in Smash, and like would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, just from a moveset standpoint.
Yeah, I just don't think it's gonna happen. I feel like they would go with somebody more. I feel like they would go with a like big villain or another game's protagonist before they'd go with one of the.
And given what we've seen in Smash Brothers itself, I would tend to agree. Now,
if there was one, the thing is like Final Fantasy, because each game is like a new universe and everything.
Right.
Well, for the most part, there's a couple that not worth going into. Yeah, I feel like there's no like. Because, like, with Tails, it's like, oh, yeah, Sonic and Tails. There's no, like... Tifa is...
Yeah.
The thing is, I feel like if you go, like, oh, yeah, Cloud and blank, I feel like it'd be Cloud and Aeris.
Really? Okay. It's because I never even heard of Aeris until just now.
Really?
Well, unless... how is Aeris spelled?
Okay, so... It's Aeris or Aerith.
Okay. No, never mind. I've heard of this character.
Yeah, it's... I honestly don't even know which one is the correct one. It was one of those things that I think due to translation, like...
I've always said Aerith, but I mean, I get a lot of pronunciation wrong because I read more than I say things out loud.
At one point,
like, that's wrong, you're saying it wrong.
At one point,
I don't know.
At one point I looked up which one was correct because I saw both, and I've completely forgotten already because it matters so little to me.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. I care about Aerith a lot less than I think most people do. She's... I know you haven't played 7, but... There's a scene in particular, she is, like, the secondary main character for most of the game.
Really? Okay, I did not know that.
I don't want to spoil too much, though.
I mean, I know the big spoiler regarding her, but,
okay, yeah. Up till that point, she is absolute, like, she is...
I didn't realize that. I always figured, given that thing happened earlier on.
No, she drives the plot for...
Wow, that's impressive. No wonder that game made a big impression on people.
Yeah, she the plot revolves around her relationship with Cloud for most of the game.
I did not
And then even after the spoiler, she's still kind of driving the plot.
Oh, that's cool.
In a lot of ways. And it's interesting
So-
because like it's that big spoiler that what's fascinating to me is like that's like the big iconic part of the game.
The big spoiler of that game.
Yeah, and it involves like the 3 big players and all that.
So
Right.
we've spent a lot of
matter.
time on this topic.
Right. Doesn't matter. I feel like if there was any secondary Final Fantasy VII, if it was a party member, I feel like they would go with Aerith over anybody else.
Okay.
However, Tifa is also very important. She is arguably. It's rough. Like before that thing happens, I would say Aerith is more important, but then Tifa is definitely the most important party member afterwards.
So, do you think it's likely for us to get a second Final Fantasy character? Do you think that's something they would prioritize? I'm inclined to say no, but
I feel like in terms of pulling from a stable of iconic characters that Square has, a lot of them are Final Fantasy characters.
on the
They
other
have
hand,
other. I
and
know
we'll-
Dragon
and we'll
Quest
get
is
to this-
insanely popular in Japan, and we're going to touch on this more later.
Yeah, exactly.
thing
We're gonna
with
touch this
Dragon
later.
Quest-
The thing is, yeah, I do want to see stuff from other things.
Yeah, the
Also.
thing is, Dragon Quest is also a hugely popular series, and we'll talk about this more later.
We are definitely talking about Dragon Quest later.
Yes. The thing is, in terms of producing iconic characters, Final Fantasy just kind of outpaces Dragon Quest in that regard.
That is also
By
absolutely
a large
true.
amount. Dragon Quest
So-
doesn't run off of creating memorable characters the way that Final
It
Fantasy
does not. It does not, and that is its issue, and we will talk all about that next time.
Yes, that's my general. There's a lot of ways that you could go with Final Fantasy. There's a lot of ways you could go with Final Fantasy. I think there's a lot of good options out there. There's probably more that I haven't even brought up. There's a lot that I would
yeah.
love to see that will never happen. Like I'm sure
Yeah.
I would love to see a Final Fantasy IX character, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you brought up Squall earlier. I don't think Squall's gonna happen either.
Oh, I don't think so either. That's just one I happen to know. So we technically have 2 series left, but I think
Yes.
they're going to be really short.
Let's just move
We
on.
have,
Yeah.
we have Splatoon.
Oh yeah, no, we're good.
We might get an Octoling Echo. That's about as much as I can say.
Maybe I don't know
It's
if we
something
get
that-
it off the. I feel like they would have been. I feel like they would have been introduced by now. I feel like it would have been revealed around the same time that the Octoling expansion was, or it would have been when like the Inklings were revealed in the first place.
The thing is, I mean, obviously the Octolings have made a much bigger impression since the Octoling expansion, so I could see them being like a quick Echo, like DLC.
Possibly,
maybe?
yeah, but we'll get into DLC in the future.
Yeah. And Castlevania. Does it really need anything else right now? I think it got
No.
plenty.
Yeah, I think we're fine there.
And like anything else that could be really interesting to add is already an assist trophy or boss. So
Basically, yeah. Woof. All right, that was
an hour and 20 minutes.
a hefty chunk. This is by far the longest recording we've done.
Oh, and I knew it would be because we had a lot of topics to cover. And even though it's like, oh, these are smaller series, I knew we had some big ones like Xenoblade and Final Fantasy.
Oh man. Well, one left.
Yep.
One left.
So we'll see you guys next time for characters that would be new franchises.
Yes. Don't know if it's going to be a lot longer or a lot shorter.
It's tough to tell. I have a lot of topics on it, actually.
Same here.
Alrighty.
Here we go.